Today on Judge Mom.
You're suing Mr. Flores and you're seeking $800,000.
He stole my idea for a superhero and claimed it as his own.
He handed me the napkin, and like I said, I
Oh,
have
so
it.
he handed you the napkin.
Here it is.
So that's why you have the napkin.
You kept it this whole time. This whole time, you kept it for just fun.
If I was truly guilty, I would have destroyed the
At this
evidence.
point, Mr. Thomas,
You're not
I
that
haven't
smart.
seen anything
Wow.
that tells me that he stole your design.
It's identical, Your Honor. It's absolutely
As you can see, Your
identical.
Honor.
It's
Not
just
identical,
blue.
but it's
It's not
very.
identical.
It's the same
fabric.
thing.
We can't agree on that one simple fact, Delgado. This is
No,
going to
we
be a
cannot.
long case.
Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Sandy presiding. Your Honor, this case is Thomas versus Flores.
Thank you, Bailiff Delgado. Mr. Thomas, you're suing Mr. Flores. You say that he has used you and stolen from you, and you're seeking $800,000 in compensation. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Flores, you say that Mr. Thomas is a liar and you owe him nothing. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. What brings you to court today, Mr. Thomas?
Thank you, Your Honor. So I'm suing Jeremy today for copyright infringement and theft of intellectual property. He stole my idea for a superhero and claimed it as his own. I mean, he's just a washed-up old artist on the
Washed
last...
Sir,
Washed up. Wow.
one at a time.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Thank you. He's on the last leg of his career. He used me to revitalize what is a dying career, as he's used many young artists in the past.
What do you have to say, Mr. Flores?
I'm saying that everything he just said is a complete lie. I didn't steal anything. The character in question is an original character that I designed and had designed for months. I don't owe him anything,
Mr. Flores, anything else you want to say to me other than you owe him nothing?
other than the fact that the rip-off character that he claims he created doesn't look anything like mine. It is a very, very cheap knockoff, Your Honor.
Let me get some background from Mr. Thomas. Can you give me some background on your claim?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm a superhero enthusiast. I have been since I was a kid. It's just my biggest passion. And what goes along with that is comic books. So I've collected many, many comic books throughout the years. I also draw and design my own superheroes.
And how long have you been doing this, you said?
Oh, roughly 15 years now, since I was about 10.
So for a long time.
Very
You were
long
quite
time.
young when you started.
Yes, as I said, it's always been a passion of mine.
So tell me about these superheroes. They have superpowers, they wear capes. Sometimes I'd like to think this is a cape. I wish it was a cape sometimes, but it's not.
Yes.
Maybe you can help me with that.
Oh, I would love to, Your Honor. It'd be my pleasure.
So tell me, they're unique.
They're unique, they have special powers, and they're awesome, right? And I love to cosplay, so I like to dress up as these characters. I like to go to comic book conventions, enter contests. It's a big passion of mine. But, you know, I'm very active in the scene, and that's actually where I met Jeremy.
Okay, so you meet on this.
It's a superhero message board.
Okay.
And we bonded over an obscure superhero figure called Obsidian Reaper.
Obsidian, who? I'm sorry?
Obsidian Reaper, Your Honor.
Obsidian, I gotta write this down because there's no way I'll be able to remember this.
It's understandable.
Okay, Obsidian Reaper. So now we bond over Obsidian Reaper. What is
He
this?
reached out to me originally on this board, and I had been familiar with Jeremy. I knew who he was. He made a name for himself years ago as an artist and a designer, but he hasn't been in the scene in roughly 3 years.
And your scene is the local community scene?
This is
or-
the nationwide comic book scene, the
Okay.
nationwide superhero comic convention, for lack of a better term, nerds, and that's how we all meet.
Promise, I'm not gonna call you a nerd.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That being said, I'd like to hear from Mr. Flores. So this is how you met.
Your Honor, I've created over 50 different characters in my day. I've had national exposure. My designs have been featured in galleries, expeditions,
Pretty impressive.
magazines. I'm pretty well known and pretty well established in the comic book community. Now, part of what he said was true. We did meet on a superhero message board, but he reached out to me. I didn't reach out to him. I had never heard of him before. He's pretty new to the scene.
It's really simple. Somebody reached out to somebody, and we can't agree on that one simple fact. Delgado, this is
No,
going
we
to be a
cannot.
long case. Who reached out to who?
He reached out to me, Your Honor.
Sir?
As I was saying, Your Honor, he reached out to me because he was interested in a mentor-mentee relationship.
Okay,
And
I
at the
can see
time, I
that.
thought it was a good idea.
Absolutely was not a mentor-mentee relationship, Your Honor. It was peer-to-peer. We shared ideas, we exchanged common knowledge, and we were friendly
So
with each
despite
other.
the fact you're much younger, but
Yes.
you've been in this community, you didn't feel you needed a mentor. You just wanted somebody to share ideas with.
I wanted a friend, and I thought I had one.
So did you ever meet up in person, or this was all online?
We did meet up in person multiple times, Your Honor.
Okay.
Basically, after we started this friendship or mentor-mentee relationship, whatever you want to call it.
Friendship.
When it first started, I was in a, he was young, he was full of aspiration, he had a lot of potential, and that's what caught my interest despite, and also we had a lot of chemistry together. And I figured, I have a lot of connections, I have a lot of influence, I could help this young, passionate man, get a springboard into his career.
And
That's
you
how it started
were
out.
obsessed over this
Yeah, we were very
obsidian
both passionate
reaper
about it. We had a lot in
character.
common, a lot of things. He asked for a lot of advice, he asked for a lot of inspiration, and I was happy to give it because that's the way it started out. But then it got very, very bad, very, very quick.
I want to hear, from your perspective, sir, how this became really bad really quick.
So I start describing to him my character, and I pulled out a napkin where we were at, and I drew the character for him.
He just drew it on a napkin. That doesn't mean that I stole any designs.
But you kept it this whole time.
Mr. Thomas, I have a napkin. It has a ninja, but that doesn't prove that Mr. Flores here stole your design.
Okay.
I want to hear, from your perspective, sir, how this became really bad really quick.
Thank you. Yes, so he was helping himself to my ideas. But as he mentioned, we bonded over Obsidian Reaper. We met up for drinks and game nights, and we liked talking about creating superheroes. It was nice. But we were meeting out for drinks one day, and we were discussing comic book characters, waiting for the newest convention to come up. And as we're discussing characters, he starts ranting on about this character he's designing that he's stuck in the creative process on. So, me being the good friend that I am and the good person that I am, I thought if I shared with him some of my ideas, that would help him get out of his rut.
Is this something
I was
that
not
you
in
would...
a rut. I
Excuse
wasn't
me,
stuck.
sir, Mr. Flores.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Is this something that you would do commonly in your community, share ideas amongst designers and artists?
Absolutely. It's a very collaborative art form, and you have to work with other people in order to get everything done. Not one person can do everything. You need to
Understood.
share ideas. And when he told me he was stuck, I felt protective over my friend. I decided to draw for him my
I was
character.
not stuck. I was taking a little hiatus. I was just trying to play things out. When you're creating the new characters in the process...
You didn't have I'm a writer, I get writer's block. You don't get
It does
designer's
happen.
block. I don't even know what you properly call that, Delgado, but...
It does happen, Your Honor.
Okay.
But what I was doing is I was revamping a whole lot of different things.
Okay,
That's why
so
I was
you were
taking
kind
time
of in a
off.
rut, from what I understand. You were revamping.
I wouldn't call it that, but sure.
Okay, well,
That's exactly
we
what
could
it was,
agree to
Your Honor.
disagree. Let's just say, for my purposes today, he was in a little bit of a rut. He was revamping. He reached out to you. You guys met. What happened?
Right, so he's stuck in his creative rut. As I mentioned, I figured I would help him out. So I start describing to him my character, Nightshade Ninja.
Nightshade Ninja.
And I pulled out a napkin where we were at, and I drew the character for him. I drew it out for him so he
Okay.
could see what I was working with to perhaps derive some inspiration, right?
Just for inspirational purposes.
Exactly, to help, to be a nice person. He seemed holistically uninterested at the time, so I gave up, forgot about it, didn't think another thing.
Okay.
But as time wore on, he was calling me all the time, and his attitude had started to shift. He used to be open about his ideas. We used to share them freely, and now he was acting cagey
Well,
and
but he
secretive.
says he admits he was going through a revamping process. Don't you think maybe it's part of the revamping process?
But he was revamping when I first met him. This is months after I met him. It's only after I showed him my design that he started to act like this in his revamping or ever.
There's very good reasons for that, Your Honor.
Give me your point of view. I'm very interested to hear in what happened.
Basically, when we first started out, we were sharing ideas, we were getting advice. He was calling me roughly 3 or 4 times a week to get, inspiration, ask me what I was working on, et cetera, et cetera. But the reason why things turned sour real quick was because it was getting to a point that he was calling me daily.
That's not
asking
true.
Yes, you
That's
were.
absolutely not
He
true.
was asking
That's
me very
absolutely
specific
100%
questions
not
about
true.
my work.
There's no chance
Gentlemen,
that I could call you all day if you were calling me all day.
This is not a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. I have 2 artists in front of me who were seeking inspiration from each other, who have the same hobby or profession. I want to hear about the napkin. I don't want to hear about who called who. I called him first. He called me 10 times. I called him 5 times. I don't care. Can you tell me what happened with this napkin?
Basically, he handed me the napkin, and like I said, I
Oh,
have
so
it.
he handed you the napkin.
He handed me the napkin at that thing, and here it is.
So that's why you have the napkin.
Yes.
Okay.
But I didn't steal any designs. I keep everything that people give me. I throw it in a file, and I just hold on to it for a keepsake.
Delgado, can I see that, please? Can you bring it up?
You keep everything you get handed at a bar?
That
Really?
is what professionals
Really?
do, young man.
A napkin, a bar
Ziploc
napkin with
bag
stains
to
on it.
protect it?
Like I said, well, he did say I wasn't very impressed with it to begin with.
He wanted to preserve
But
it, Your Honor, so he could steal it.
I am looking at a drawing of what does in fact look like a ninja, right, Delgado? Okay.
But again, Your Honor, that doesn't prove anything. He just drew it on a napkin. That doesn't mean that I stole any designs.
But you kept it this whole time. This whole time, you kept it for just fun.
If I was truly guilty, I would have destroyed
At
the
this
evidence.
point, Mr. Thomas,
You're not
I
that
haven't
smart.
seen anything
Wow.
that tells me that he stole your design. I have a napkin, it has a ninja, but that doesn't prove that Mr. Flores here stole your design.
Okay. He has my exact design for my superhero costume. It's just different colors, Your Honor.
This one?
It's identical, Your Honor. It's absolutely
As you can see, Your
identical.
Honor.
It's
Not
it's just
identical,
blue.
but it's
It's not
dairy.
identical.
It's the same
fabric-
thing.
I put way much
Absolutely
work
the
into
same
it.
thing.
Mr. Thomas?
You didn't put any work into it. You stole from me.
Mr. Thomas, are you going to let me make that decision? Mr. Thomas,
You're not
I
that
haven't
smart.
seen anything
Wow.
that tells me that he stole your design. I'm still not understanding. I have a napkin with a drawing, and that's all I have.
Okay, well, Your Honor, so the time for the convention comes. It's roughly late summer of this year. And I haven't spoken to Jeremy in months or seen him after he was so aggressive with me, I had to cut him off. I'm working on my Nightshade Ninja costume. I'm perfecting the design, all of this, and I'm not speaking to Jeremy at all for months and months before this convention. Finally, the day comes, I'm overjoyed. I get my tickets. I've been entered in the best original hero contest, and I'm ready. I couldn't be more excited. This is years of work coming to fruition.
And just so I'm right on my characters, your character that you are entering into this competition is the Nightshade Ninja.
Correct, Your Honor, yes.
Got it, Delgado.
So I have Nightshade Ninja. I put it on. I go into the convention. I'm feeling amazing.
So you're dressed as Nightshade Ninja.
I'm Nightshade.
This is
I am-
you right here.
That is me, yes.
Got it.
And I'm in the convention. I'm feeling great and I'm looking great, right? And everybody's doing double takes of me. And I'm overjoyed. I think it's because of, how good my costume looks.
You're the man of the hour.
Right. But as I keep going through the convention, the energy shifts. And it's not people looking at me, oh, look at how cool he looks. It's, they're laughing at me. Why is he wearing that? I can't believe he's wearing that. And I'm so confused and hurt. I have no idea what's going on until I run into Jeremy. And I finally figure out why everyone's been laughing at me. He has my exact design for my superhero costume on. Only it's just different colors, Your Honor.
This one?
Exactly the same. I confront him. I'm trying to get the truth out of him. How could you steal from me? I can't believe this. And he says nothing. Your Honor, doesn't even look me in the eye, just walks away. What kind of person does that?
Mr. Flores, I feel like I'm talking to my child when I tell him, now you have a lot of explaining to do. Go ahead, I'm listening.
Part of what he said is true, yet again, Your Honor, but most of
Sir,
it was
you
a lie.
continue telling me part of what he says is true, but I'm not seeing anything different, so please explain.
Your Honor, I had already entered my costume, which was Shadow Shogun, into the contest days before he did. So the reason why he was getting a lot
How
of
would you
double
know
takes
that?
because some people were already familiar with my designs, and they saw that his was clearly a cheap knockoff.
Let's do something here. Does anybody have pictures of these costumes that I can look at?
Yes,
Your Honor.
You have them here
We
today.
both do.
We
yes.
both do.
I'm going to take a look at them. And you are the Nightshade Ninja.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Sir, Mr. Flores?
Shadow Shogun.
The Shadow Shogun. Let's take a look, Bailiff Delgado.
See, that is a Nightshade Ninja.
Who am I looking at?
That is Nightshade Ninja.
This person here.
Correct,
Nightshade
yes.
Ninja.
One and the same.
Okay.
This is my design that I created. This is
Okay.
the one that I put together. I drafted from scratch. Years of work went into this.
I see it. I see it looks a lot like the drawing on the napkin.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And Mr. Flores, now I'd like to see your design.
It's identical, Your Honor. It's absolutely
As you can see, Your
identical.
Honor.
It's
Not
it's just
identical,
blue.
but it's
not
dairy.
identical.
It's the same
fabric-
thing.
I put
It's
way much
absolutely
work
the
into
same
it.
thing.
Mr. Thomas?
You didn't put any work into it. You stole from me.
Mr. Thomas, are you going to let me make that decision?
I apologize, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Flores, I have to admit, they do look a little bit similar.
It's not uncommon for there to be similarities among superheroes, Your Honor. As you were saying, capes, similar powers, everything. My character's costume was way more incorporated into the backstory that I spent months creating. His character doesn't really even have a backstory. It was just a blatant ripoff.
How would you know if you didn't ask me so many questions about it?
I didn't ask you anything.
Then how do you know?
Mr. Thomas, he's trying to explain to me that his superhero is different and distinct, and that is what we have to look at under the law. Go on, Mr. Flores.
Thank you, Your Honor. As you were saying, he doesn't have any evidence, any proof. The napkin shows nothing. The napkin was actually the first red flag that I had to show that he was trying to steal some of my work.
How do you know he's trying to steal your work, Mr. Flores?
Because
I haven't seen one scintilla of evidence of that.
Well,
I didn't know about your character until after I drew the napkin.
I didn't know about yours until I saw you showing up and people were looking at you.
When I
funny.
drew it for you that you've kept this whole time, you definitely knew about it. The only difference are the colors, Your Honor. That's the only difference between our two
And
characters.
there are some similarities. I'll give you that, Mr. Thomas. Go ahead, Mr. Flores.
Going into the actual costume, the fabric is completely different. Mine has much stronger material. My character's costume is much more time period appropriate. Just so much work went into that, Your Honor. I
I'm
spent
going to
months
take a look
sewing
at
it
these
together.
again. Let me look at these details again. I'm going to look at Nightshade Ninja first. Now, I'm going to see Shadow again. Let's take a look at
They're
Shadow.
identical, Your Honor. There's so much about them that is similar.
not
It's absolutely
identical.
absurd that you could think
So,
that you created this on your own.
I want an opinion from Delgado. I hear you used to play with superheroes when you were a kid. Somebody told me a little secret. What do you think?
Truth?
Yeah? Well,
I think they look almost exactly the same.
Thank you. Thank you.
I agree there are similarities, but I'm not convinced. I need to be convinced.
That's
Okay. What happened? You show up at the convention.
thank
You're
you.
dressed like your superhero.
I'm dressed to the nines in this outfit I've worked years on. I go to the contest, and they won't even let me enter. They
They
say
won't let you enter?
it's best original hero is what they said. And my costume was clearly a knockoff of Shadow Shogun. And then Jeremy went on to win the contest. He won the $50,000 and the National Comic Story arc, stealing my design, my career, and my life.
Stole your life.
Mr. Flores, I still haven't heard anything from you that's going to convince me that you didn't maybe steal his idea.
You wanted to collaborate after all this went down, so if I'm such an evil person, why in the world would you want to collaborate in the
Good
first
point,
place?
Mr. Flores.
He stole my idea.
What?
I figured he'd throw me a bone.
I
I
don't
thought he might be a
understand.
decent
You're
person.
sitting here accusing Mr. Flores of stealing your original idea, but then by the same token, you ask him to collaborate with you. Why would you do that?
You are the five. Get off my stage.
Mr. Flores, I still haven't heard anything from you that's going to convince me that you didn't maybe steal his idea or borrow a lot of them to make your superhero.
All right, Your Honor. I have evidence, the text message that he sent me after the competition was over. A text message that...
Is that
if I'm-
illegal?
The text message was saying you wanted to collaborate after all this went down. So if I'm such an evil person, if I'm such an evil thief, why in the world would you want to collaborate in the
Good
first
point,
place?
Mr. Flores. 1 point for you, sir.
That's a
Mr.
really-
Thomas.
That's a really great question, Your Honor.
It is a really great
So
question.
after working years on this design, having it ripped out from under me, stolen from me blatantly, I had nothing. I have nothing.
Right.
So of course I'm going to reach out to someone who has my idea to collaborate. I need anything. I need scraps. I'm barely affording to live right now because he stole
Your Honor,
everything I have.
Your Honor, can we
Sir,
please look
did
at
you
the
make
text?
any money? Did you win this contest?
I won the contest. I won the $50,000, and I
Oh,
got a
you
lot of
won the
contracts off of it.
$50,000.
Yes.
And a national comic story
What
arc.
kind of
Yes.
contest was it?
It was original character contest. It was a costume contest, and a lot of other things that went along with it.
We're talking millions of dollars here, Your Honor. Millions.
Potentially millions of dollars.
Potentially,
you.
yes.
See how he loves to exaggerate. But let's take a look at the text message, Your Honor.
Before we go there, I want to know a little bit more about this comic contract that you obtained.
Well, it is a contract that the Shadow Shogun that I spent months creating and creating the backstory was going to get put onto a much bigger platform, get much bigger exposure, and it would potentially lead to much bigger things.
So we're talking about serious money here.
Yes.
All right, let me take a look at this text message. Hi, Jeremy. When are you meeting with the comic book people? Maybe we can do a collaboration for them. Hit me up. A collaboration with you? Never.
Your Honor, I was grasping at straws. He stole my idea.
What?
I figured he'd throw me a bone.
I
I
don't
thought he might be a
understand.
decent
You're
person.
sitting here accusing Mr. Flores of stealing your original idea, but then by the same token, you ask him to collaborate with you. Why would you do that?
Your Honor, I need money. If he stole my idea, it's the last thing that I created.
But you're a
that's worth
talented
anything.
young artist, sir. Why don't you just come up with something else?
I need. This is the character that I created. I spent years doing this.
I'm ready to rule on this case. Mr. Flores, I have to admit that the drawings do look very similar. I understand you're a seasoned artist. I understand you were revamping. Maybe you were going through some kind of creative flatline. I'm not really sure what happened. But aside from the visuals looking ugly, let me do something. Let me inform you guys what the law actually states. And I love these cases, Bailiff Delgado, because we get to educate people. Under the copyright law, the fact that he drew it and he turned it over to you and started the chain gives him a certain amount of protection. And here's what happened. You used it in a manner that required for you to have a
Your Honor.
copyright of that. If you
Your
would have
Honor,
used it
no.
for educational purposes, for something else, you wouldn't be standing here. But because you improperly used somebody's original
I didn't
idea
improperly use that, Your Honor.
he
I have the designs
put
long before
in
he handed that
use,
to me.
Sir, I am finding that you do owe him $800,000 in damages. And in addition to that, sir, Mr. Thomas, compose yourself. Don't act the age of my children. Act your age.
Sorry, Your Honor.
In addition to that, sir, you will give him 20% of all of the earnings to date of this Shadow, whoever he is, who is
Shadow Shogun, Your Honor.
Shadow Shogun. 20% will be given to him, and you will no longer use Shadow Shogun. You are not to use it ever again, other than for the strict
Honor, my
purpose
God, I
of
spent
the
here-
contract you presently have. This court has ruled.
Sweet justice. Yes, Delgado, I gotta hug you. Come here, buddy. Come on, go fight. Yes. Oh.